Am I in it?
Yes.
You are.
All right, so first of all, I guess I'll go back to just like the beginning, in the sense of the beginning of, let's say, art college. I went to school in Chicago at the Columbia College, Chicago, which is primarily a photo school. But I flew home quite a bit. And I really enjoyed, or I made sure I always had the window, because I enjoyed looking down. And who doesn't? Anyone that likes visuals likes to look down. But I was really fascinated with how agriculture was set up, how this patchwork of landscape was set up, and how like out in the middle of the desert you had these beautiful circular farms, you know, that were all based that way because of irrigation. And I liked that how farms would butt up against the edge of a mountain, or they would butt up against the edge of a river, and how both nature dictated those lines, but man dictated efficiency. And so I made a lot of paintings about that, just this topographical painting about organization. So I was organizing colors and shapes. And as that progressed, I got into my own, I felt much like how they would feel. I had no system for doing this, so I soon enough turned it into a total system of organizing based on grids and external things like books for idiots on how to do science. I would use equations and ways to organize aspects of life and chemistry. I would apply it to how to organize a painting surface. And I did that for a good 2 years. They ended up being these very hard-edged, color-based paintings. And I did exceptionally well. And actually, when I moved home from Chicago and started going to graduate school, the first show I had, I sold everything. And then I started graduate school, and one of the first paintings I had done, I took fabric. And as I was stretching this fabric over a wood panel, I realized when I pulled on one side too hard that the plaid line moved, but then eventually went right back to where it should. And it made it feel to me much like that landscape, like a river running through, dictating its order, its structure. So at some point, I'm not sure how exactly it happened, I stopped making hard-edged paintings and I started sewing quilts because I was searching for that patchwork, that narrative that was created by land and by landmass, by people. So the painting stopped being about painting and started being about these narratives of what was happening on the landscape and the storytelling about the history of landscape and how, for instance, like you look at Dresden, right, when it was bombed, they rebuilt it, but the history of that still happened, and there's elements of that that are visible from a macro level, looking down. You can still tell this history of the landscape. So all these narratives, and I had gotten so far away from the actual reason of what I like to make painting about. So going through that, after I graduated, with my MFA, I kind of rolled with this narrative fabric painting for a while, but then I made this decision, I gotta get back to this hard-edged abstraction, the stuff I really enjoyed doing. And I didn't want to make a jump. I just wanted to make it slow and progressive, so I slowly started transitioning these things back. So it kind of gets into this recent point where my father had passed away about 2 years ago, and while going through his stuff, I found a bolt of fabric, this black hemp fabric. And rather than it going to waste, I thought, well, this would be interesting. I'd like to take this fabric and stretch these really, over wood paneled painting surfaces and paint all of the garden herbs in abstracted form. That was my original idea, was to go through this entire book of garden herbs. His name was Herb, and make these abstract little paintings of garden herbs. And that's sort of in the other room, those 6 panels. And then I started fussing and creating these new systems, and things started to change, and they changed, not dramatically, but this is the furthest thing I was thinking of doing. But now I'm creating these paintings that are creating simple forms without finishing the form. And I was talking to someone about this, and I kind of like the idea, because in a sense these paintings are about loss, about something missing, which could very well be a stand-in for my father. But so something's missing on these, but it's still complete. You know, and the thing that's completing it is its vacantness. It's still there. It's there and it's not there at the same time. And these forms can possess also two different realities. More so on the newer work. You have these things that look one way, but are actually can be seen or perceived as another way. So they can work in this duality, but at the same time suggesting these aspects of loss. So
That is so poignant.
yeah. So I mean, I thought it was interesting, and it's exciting. This is the kind of work I really like to do. I like to sit down. I like to measure. I like the idea of taping and sealing. And you can't see it so much, but the surface is kind of rough. I mean, it's raw dyed hemp. It's a rough surface, and you're trying to, commit yourself to a strong, flat line, clean line. And it's not the easiest thing to do, so it takes patience and time. And in a sense, it's almost, it's relaxing. I mean, it's something nice to do. And it creates the ability to work on multiples, because while one's drying, you're working on the next, and you're working through this progress. So the idea was, to work through this whole bolt of fabric and just make these paintings about that relationship and loss. And who knows where it'll end up. It started out with doing garden herbs, and now I'm making diptych, paintings that show both sides of a form. So there's similarities in both sides, but differences also, but still relying on that aspect of something's missing, but it's still there. And a lot of it gets back to the the last 10 years of teaching, beginning design and beginning drawing. I'm so just the simplest things ever. Simple colors, simple shapes, simple forms. How can I possibly take this day-to-day thing I do and make it more interesting? Because it really does occupy most of your brain when you're thinking about explaining this stuff to people. So, students. I guess students are people too.